What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So it's been a few days since LEGO has officially revealed set number 75419, the UCS Death Star, dropping on October 1st. And your feeds are probably flooded with all the ambassadors and influencers ripping open this set, building this set, and dropping their content. But today I want to answer the big question surrounding possibly the most controversial LEGO Star Wars set of all time. Is the UCS Death Star worthy of all of the hate that it is receiving all across the internet? That's what we are going to do here in today's quick breakdown. I wanted to give it a few extra days so I could gather all my thoughts and figure out how I truly felt about this set. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to head on over to lego.com and take a look at the pictures as well as the lifestyle images for this set. And the first big thing that a lot of people have a problem with is when you're looking at the UCS Death Star from first glance, it doesn't actually look like a Death Star. You would expect it to be spherical or a half sphere like we've seen with other Death Star sets in the past, but we don't have that. And before we dive into some of the reason as to why that is the case, I just want to look at this set for what it is. And it is basically a massive diorama with tons of callbacks and little Easter eggs to, of course, the original trilogy. So here we go. We got the UCS Death Star with 38 minifigures. We're going to talk about the minifigures later in the video as well. But one of the things I really do like about the set is all of the little pockets and areas where you can play around with your minifigs and, of course, recreate scenes from the original trilogy. I love the Imperial shuttle that you get, which you can actually build and take out and swoosh around. I think that is fantastic. Right here, we have Darth Vader fighting Obi-Wan. We've got Han Solo in his Stormtrooper getup, as well as the famous trash compactor scene. Right here, we've got Vader interrogating Princess Leia. And then we have a couple lifestyle images of the UCS Death Star, which you can see how big this set is. And the other thing that comes to my mind when realizing that this doesn't look how we all kind of pictured it would look in our heads when we first heard that this set was coming all those months back at the beginning of the year is this set supposed to be a play scale set or a collector's display set? And I think ultimately it is supposed to be both. From what I saw, there was a quick little clip of the designer interview that's been circulating around the internet right now, is that the designer developed this set with his inner child in mind, in having all these little pockets and dollhouse style like areas of the set where you can play with your minifigs and reenact the scenes and everything. So from that perspective, I think it is cool, but I think you have a huge problem with the intended audience for this set. And before we move into that topic, I do want to also shout out the Brick Pharaoh, who I saw on Instagram. He made a really cool reel that there is another thing you can actually do with this set. If you happen to own the midi scale Millennium Falcon, it actually fits in the hangar bay of the UCS Death Star. And I think that is actually really cool and something that LEGO themselves should be promoting and marketing, because if you have the Millennium Falcon and you're thinking about getting the Death Star, well, then it goes hand in hand, but it also could help sell some more midi scale Millennium Falcons if you promote that it can actually fit in the hangar bay. So I wanted to shout out Brick Pharaoh because I thought that was something that was really cool and is actually a little bit more of a selling point for me with this set. But moving on as to who is actually the intended audience for this set, because we have this question in play of, is this a play scale set or is this supposed to be your ultimate collector series collector display set? And here in 2025, we are running into a little bit of a problem. This is something that we've been seeing over the last few years, as a lot of people, especially LEGO fans and collectors, we're running out of space for all of our sets. The LEGO group has just been pumping out sets at an unprecedented rate, and we've continued to buy. However, our space is not infinite. And most people are not crazy like myself and my wife. We went out and we specifically found a house with a 3,000 square foot garage so we could display and hold all of our Lego and ultimately build a massive Lego city. But most people are not that crazy or not that diehard of a Lego fan, so they're not going to do that. So with that in mind, I think this set was intended for the general audience, for people who don't have ultimately infinite space, but they do have a table or a shelf somewhere where they could put this style of a Death Star. And if this Death Star was a half sphere or a sphere, most people would not be able to even think about owning this set because it would just take up too much space. Now, With this in mind, I think that this is a problem because, in my opinion, LEGO should be targeting UCS LEGO Star Wars collectors. Now, when it comes to most people do not collect LEGO Star Wars UCS sets. I would even argue that most regular LEGO Star Wars collectors don't even collect UCS sets. The UCS collector demographic is a very small portion of people for three critical reasons. Number one, you have to have the disposable income to even buy these massive, very highly priced UCS scale sets. The number two thing that you need to have is space. If you have the money, that's great, but you still need the space to display them. And the third thing that you have to have is time. One of the things that I didn't have over the last few years was time to build our sets. So even if we did have the money and did have the space, but if we didn't have the time, then what's the point of even buying it, because you're never going to be able to build it. And I have seen that with a lot of people who have purchased big sets over the last few years and then ultimately just sold them or gotten rid of them, because if you don't have the time to build it, then you're not going to be a LEGO collector for very long. So we don't know who the actual intended audience of this set, because from what I've seen, the LEGO Star Wars UCS community of collectors is not impressed with this set because of the lack of quality. Now, this is a $1,000 set. When I think of something that is $1,000, I would expect the highest premium quality that something can offer. And with this being the first quadruple digit LEGO set, I would expect the minifigs to be rock solid and a really impressive lineup. And unfortunately, that is not something that we have with this set. And it's the first of three reasons why I don't think most LEGO Star Wars UCS collectors will be buying this set. First off, when it comes to the Stormtrooper department, that's actually the first issue I have. You only get 6 Stormtroopers plus the hot tub Stormtrooper, which is bringing you only to 7 if you count that one. In universe, the Death Star has thousands of Stormtroopers on it. Bare minimum, I think we should have gotten 10, if not 15 or 20 Stormtroopers with this set, because that would have helped to beef up the minifigure count at a very low cost, because it can't be that expensive for LEGO to throw in extra Stormtroopers. This is only coming with 38 minifigures, not enough exclusive minifigures for my taste. And the other thing is, with the minifigures, you're seeing a lot of them that should have dual molded legs. They're lacking arm printing. So the minifigure lineup is just not something that's overly impressive. I actually think this would have been a perfect opportunity if LEGO was somehow able to introduce Force Ghost minifigures. It's been something that's been thrown around the community for all these years. I saw a designer interview where they talked about how the chemical component used to make the translucent blue does not hold up long enough with the design of Force Ghost minifigures yet, so that's why they haven't been able to put it out. But if this set had something like Force Ghost minifigures, I would be all in. I'd be like, yes, I need it, because it would be something that just brings the set to that premium caliber that you would expect. The other thing that we have to talk about, or the second thing that I don't think is wowing UCS collectors, is the lack of printed parts. There are some printed parts, but this is also coming with a massive sticker sheet that is kind of taking away from the overall quality that you would expect for a $1,000 set. The other thing that I think is going to be a huge deterrent for a lot of UCS collectors is the extremely weak GWP that's going to be launching alongside this UCS Death Star on October 1st. Set number 40771, the TIE Fighter with Imperial Hanger Rack, is going to be the exclusive GWP. It's got 236 pieces, 3 minifigs, of which are 2 Stormtroopers and a TIE Fighter pilot. I think it's very cool that the TIE Fighter actually sits in the hangar of the UCS Death Star, but this to me looks like something that should have been included with the set originally. Why this wasn't, I'm not sure, but I really think this was the least creative GWP that LEGO could come up with. And ultimately, I think that it's going to hurt the lines and hurt the sales on release day come October for this set. Now, the next big thing that I want to get into is pricing, because pricing cannot be overlooked when we are crossing that $1,000 threshold like we are here for this set, because you got to remember, it's going to be more than $1,000 with tax, depending on where you are in the United States, which is where we are, and of course, where you are in the world. Here in the United States, minimum wage is still $7.25. Now, some states have elected to go to a higher minimum wage, but the federal standard for minimum wage is still $7.25. If you happen to be somebody who earns minimum wage, maybe you're a kid, teenager, young adult, wherever you are in your job journey, if you make minimum wage, it's going to take you approximately 138 hours of working, or the equivalent of 17 full work shifts comprising of 8 hours each, to save up enough money to buy this set. That is insane. 17 full work shifts. That's over a month of working just saving up for this set, not paying for anything else, not paying for your rent, your mortgage, your transportation, your other bills, nothing. That is insane, and something that cannot be overlooked when discussing the first $1,000 set. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up in terms of pricing is that I don't believe that this set was intended to be the first Star Wars or first Lego set meant to be $1,000. Lego has stated that tariffs have played a big role in the pricing and why certain sets have been increased to certain price points over the last few months, because tariffs are a problem. In fact, the Lego Star Wars August 1st wave was apparently higher in price because of tariffs. So I think initially this set was intended to be $900 or $950, and I could be proven wrong. Maybe there's a designer interview out there stating that this was in fact meant to be the first $1,000 set. But I don't believe so, because I think tariffs are playing a role in Lego's pricing and everything. So I think this set has been bumped up at least $50 to meet that $1,000 threshold. And then, of course, Lego was able to play off the marketing with that by saying, hey, the first $1,000 Lego set is coming here in 2025. And that is something that should not be championed. I unfortunately heard some creators that I follow here in the Lego space saying we've all been waiting for the first $1,000 Lego set. I have not. I have not been waiting and hoping that we would see the first $1,000 Lego set. Instead, I think Lego should have timed this way better. In fact, based on the current economic climate here in the United States and based on the world, if this set has been in the pipeline for some time, I think they should have pushed it even further out to 2026, 2027, 2028, or even beyond until we see how things shake out. The economy is getting slightly better, but there are still a lot of people struggling and a lot of people who are not going to be able to even think about affording this set just because of the current economic conditions. And I think that ultimately is going to hurt Lego as a company, because if they had flipped the script and they said, hey, we had our first $1,000 Lego set in the works, but instead this year here in 2025, we're going to take that $1,000, we're going to spread it back over the Lego Star Wars catalog. We're going to release a couple more $100 to $200, maybe even another $300 set in Q4 of 2025. I think that would have been way more well received than the situation that we have here, because $1,000 is just, it is mind-boggling to wrap your head around. And I know for me, there's a lot of other sets that I would rather pick up with a $1,000 budget than going all in on this set. And I think that is going to be why you're not going to see as many people in line on October 1st to buy this set, or on their computer or phone for the midnight release on October 1st on Lego Shop at Home. So ultimately, as a Lego Star Wars UCS and Lego Star Wars collector, this is a huge letdown. And we saw a lot of people last month who were just upset over the $45 327th Clone Trooper Battle Pack. I don't understand how Lego thought there was going to be an overall positive reaction to a $1,000 UCS Death Star that frankly doesn't even look like a Death Star unless you really understand what this set is trying to do. And I think this set is trying to be a hybrid of a display set and a collector set, but I think you cannot say that this set is being marketed to kids or even families unless they have a lot of disposable income, because this set is just not something that a lot of people are going to be able to afford. So overall, I think unfortunately this set is very well deserving of the hate that it's getting, because we don't know the true intention of this set. We don't know the true targeted audience for this set, and there are too many quality issues to make either of the first 2 points that I just made abundantly clear. On top of that, we have a ridiculously weak GWP, and I think ultimately at the end of the day, the Lego group truly failed the designer, because you can just see the love and the passion the designer was exuding in that brief interview that's been circulating around. And if I find it, I will link it down below so you guys can watch it too. But you can just see how passionate he was about this project, and how could he not be? I'm sure he spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours working on this. And no matter how critical we are of Lego sets at the end of the day, we have to remember that every single set has a designer or team of designers who worked very hard to put out the best product that they are able to put out. However, that product, I'm sure, gets manipulated and changed several times overall by either the marketing team or whoever makes the final decisions for each set before it goes out the door to production and then ultimately on the shelves at Lego stores and on Lego's website. But I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments section below. Will you be picking up the UCS Death Star at any point during its shelf life? If the set is selling well and ultimately successful, it'll probably be on the shelves for the next 5 to 10 years. If it is not successful, we could see this set in and out in the next 24 to 36 months. I think that is a more likely scenario. I would be shocked if this set ends up being a top seller or something that the Lego group brags about. And I really hope that it isn't a set that does well and sells a lot of copies, because then we are just proving that we are okay with paying a astronomically high price and not getting the quality that we as Lego fans and collectors deserve. So we will not be picking up this set unless it's on a heavy discount and all the other sets on my wish list have already been purchased, which I highly doubt would happen because I usually always have a massive wish list because I love Lego. And on top of it being on discount, I would love to pick up a good GWP. I don't care what theme it is, but I would like a good GWP to go along with it, because even if this is on sale for 20% off, for instance, it's still going to be $800, which is still a lot of money. So those are all my thoughts on the UCS Death Star. I just want to thank the designer once again. I know he probably put his heart and soul into creating this, and I'm very grateful for everything he did. I just think that the end of the day execution was not done right. And had it been done right with quality minifigures, with a banger GWP, with mostly printed parts, I think it would be a much different story. And I know I would be sitting down with Joanna right now and going, how can we budget? How can we figure out how to make this set a reality for our collection? But if you guys did enjoy the video, smash that like button. If you would like to join our SlapShotBricks family, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we would love to have you join and everybody is welcome. So as always, don't stop shooting until you score, and we'll see you guys very soon.